All right, welcome. Thanks to everybody that was able to join us today. Welcome to our panel with our awesome panelists that are currently serving for one more week. You're almost there. So if you're here, you've definitely heard from me already. My name is Brenna Eaton. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm the West Region Service Year Director and also the Denver Service Year Advisor. So I'll be your point of contact until you get here to Denver and register and start with us. And I am from the Denver area. I live 5 minutes from where I was born. I'm from Arvada, right outside of Denver. I went to CU Boulder, and then I served my core year quite a while ago with City Year Boston. I served in a 6th grade math and science classroom, did some other things in between, lived in some different countries and cities, and then came back home to Denver with a newfound appreciation for my home community, and then started working back at City Year Denver. And I will pass it over to our other panelists to introduce themselves. And then we're going to be talking about some budgeting tips, and we have some other things we're going to cover. And then we'll pass it over to you for your questions and a couple questions that people emailed to me too.
Hello, my name is Alonzo Williams. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I proudly serve at George Washington High School. The graded content level I focus on in 9th grade integrated math 1, which is basically just algebra. And I graduated from Penn State, Pennsylvania State University. My hometown is Williamsport, Pennsylvania, which is an hour away. And if you know about Little League Baseball, that's where that is. My favorite place to eat, I haven't really ate at too many places here. But I went to the Historians with my team, like our first month together, and it was really a great place. I definitely recommend that. Favorite things to do in Denver is to hang out with team members and other friends during weekends because, like I said, there wasn't really much to do at times. But outdoors, you have a little bit more freedom. So I like to do hiking and playing basketball during the time. For my Lacey plan, which is life after City Year, I don't have exact plans after City Year so far, but by next year I will be back here, but as a service leader. So I'm excited to see everyone's face more next year as well, who's coming in this year.
Hello, everyone. My name is Celeste Borg. My pronouns are she, her, hers. That's a picture of me and my best friend. We went hiking at the Garden of the Gods. I'm on the right, if that's not apparent. And I currently serve as a core member at Abraham Lincoln High School in 9th grade ELA and ELD classrooms, English Language Arts and English Language Development. So basically just like English classes. I graduated college from Hastings College in Hastings, Nebraska, which is a tiny little school in a tiny little town in the middle of the Midwest. But I'm actually from right here in the Denver metro area, Littleton, which is about 30 minutes south of Denver. My favorite place to eat in Denver is Lucille's Creole Cafe. They have really good beignets, but I can also recommend the grits and honestly, basically everything else on the menu. I mostly go for the beignets. Definitely my favorite part. And my favorite things to do in Denver indoors, I really like the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. That's really cool. And one of the nice things that happens with your SNAP card or your SNAP benefits is you get into a lot of museums and other kind of public areas around Denver for really cheap, like sometimes $1, which is super handy, super nice. And then there's an ice cream. I will say the best ice cream definitely in Denver, maybe the entire world. I haven't been in the entire world, but I've been a lot of places in Denver. Lots of people in Denver will tell you it's Little Man ice cream. They're wrong. It's actually Inside Scoop. Really good. So get a single scoop of mint chocolate chip ice cream on a homemade waffle cone from Inside Scoop and go wander around outside. Something I really like to do. And my life after City Year, I actually have a job at Lincoln. I will be working as a paraprofessional in the College and Career Services office. And I found out about that job literally because they were looking for someone and they said, hey, does any city year need a job next year? I think you would be really good at this. So definitely would not have found this opportunity and this really awesome place without my time at City Year.
Hello, I'm Katie. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. That's a picture of me and my cute little dog. That was a little COVID puppy, and now she's old and crazy. But yeah, I work at Lake Middle School and I help out with 7th grade ELA, and I absolutely adore the children. Kind of what I was talking about earlier, I graduated from CSU. I'm originally from Kansas and took, oh, you're good, the most immediate opportunity to get out of Kansas. So did that, went to Colorado, and yeah. My favorite place to eat is Pho Fusion. I love pho and it's really cheap. So anything to keep that budget down and eat good, I'm game for. Sorry, my dog's growling at me right now. Let's see, favorite things to do in Denver. Indoors, I like going to the Milk Market and Central Market. Big fan of markets. Outside of that, I'm really big into like hiking, skiing, camping. So if you ever need recommendations for any of that, I got you. My plan after City Year is I just got a job as a behavioral technician for a nonprofit in Denver. So I'll be in Denver for one more year. And I'm working with kids that have autism or depression, and I'm working alongside with them. So I'm really excited. And I start in a month. So I have a month to do whatever I want.
Hi everyone. So my name is also Celeste, and I'm at Denver Discovery School, which is a middle school. Oh, and my pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm with 7th and 8th graders in social studies. And I graduated from Gonzaga University, and I'm also, which is in Washington. I'm also from Washington, but like near Portland. And kind of like Alonzo, I haven't been to that many restaurants in Denver, just COVID and everything, but I really like this Thai restaurant called Hey Bangkok. And for favorite things to do in Denver, I also like markets and just places to walk around and get food and shop and all that, and then just hanging out with friends. And then my favorite thing outdoors in Denver is to go to the Botanic Gardens, which you also can go to for $1, which with the SNAP benefits. And then also just hanging out at parks. Denver has a lot of good parks. And then my plan for the next year is to be a teaching assistant at Highline Academy, which is one of the schools that City Year serves at. So yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Akira and my pronouns are she, her, hers. I currently serve at Highland Academy Northeast, and I am with math. I teach math in 4th grade, and I love that so much. I didn't think I'd love to teach math, but I really enjoy teaching math instead of learning math. Um, I graduated from CU Denver, and my hometown is actually in Ghana. So I was born and raised in Ghana, in the northeastern part of Ghana. Um, my favorite place to go, I don't really go out that much, but when I do, I like this ice cream place. It's called Snow. It's I think it's Korean owned, but it's really good. They have like so many different types of ice cream that I think is like Asian themed ice cream, but it's like ice cream that I've never ever seen before. It's really good. Um, Favorite things to do in Denver. I like to go to the movies. I haven't been in a while, and I kind of like miss going there and like getting to like eat popcorn and like eat really expensive food that like is, yeah. But things I like to do outside, I like to just like find different places to eat when I can, because I like to eat like different things and explore like different like cultural foods and stuff like that. My life after Lacey plans is so I'm gonna take a month off, then travel, then come back, then apply to jobs in the healthcare center, like healthcare field, because I want to go into medical school, so I want to get like my clinical hours in before applying, I guess. Yeah, so that's all about me.
Thank you all. And for everybody that's planning on serving next year that just joined us, a couple of folks came in. You can definitely introduce yourself in the chat if you haven't already as well. But before I stop screen sharing, we're just going to walk through some budgeting tips. Celeste is going to walk us through this first budget, and then Katie is going to talk about what it's like having her second job and serving at the same time.
Yeah, so this is a budget that I actually borrowed from someone else who works at Lincoln. Since my budget looks a little bit different, I actually live at home with my parents because I am from the Denver metro area. So my budget looks a lot different than kind of a typical Corps member. So I stole this from somebody else who works with me. And this is kind of what her breakdown looks like. So you can see her income is over on the left. That city year stipend, that's the monthly stipend. That's her monthly take home. And those SNAP benefits are what she uses to buy her groceries. So she gets $80 a week for groceries. And you can see, again, the monthly expenses breakdown on the right. So rent and utilities, gas, her phone bill, Netflix and Spotify, and then a fund budget and savings, both of which I really recommend. Most Corps members will tell you this, like saving, always a good idea if you can. Sometimes it's less possible some months, and sometimes it's more possible, but it's always a good idea if you have it to save it. And building in a fund budget, because to be perfectly honest, you're gonna spend it. So you might as well put it into your budget anyway, whatever your fund budget might be for, unless you are the most wonderfully composed, very denying yourself fun things. Like you're gonna buy yourself some ice cream, you're gonna buy yourself some, coffee, you're gonna rent a movie that you didn't think you were gonna pay for. And so it's nice to have it built into your budget rather than just assume that you're exactly going to stick to it every month and then be surprised because you can be flexible on, you can be flexible on your savings, you can be flexible on your fund budget. You can't really be flexible on rent. Your landlord will be unhappy about that. But that's kind of a sample breakdown of someone who works just one city year job. Her only income is the city year stipend.
Okay. I just am reading this and I forgot to add in like the SNAP benefits. So imagine that's also in there. But yeah, I nannied on top of city year after school. There's my budget. My rent and utilities is like significantly more than, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry about my dog, is like significantly more than I feel like the average in city year, just because I ended up living with college friends and it just kind of was just how it worked out. Not my preference, but I can do anything for a year. And so yeah, there's kind of everything. I am also adding in loans. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry, you guys, for the whining. I don't know what's happening. We're in a fight with my dog, I think. So yeah, there's everything. Honestly, I don't really like, if you have any questions about that, I'm here to ask, but I kind of just wanted to, oh my goodness, add in that like working 2 jobs was a lot for me this year. So if it is something you need to do, just make sure you stay organized and like take care of yourself mentally, because it is a lot to have to go from working in a school all week and then leave and go work with more children. Oh my goodness, work with more children. So if you're doing it, it's doable, but just take care of yourself.
How many hours a week would you say you normally work nannying? Or
It
like
changed
what is,
like
yeah,
every
how
week.
flexible is it?
Yeah, so I like got really lucky with the nanny family that I was with. They were very, very flexible, like almost too flexible though. I would get like a different schedule every Monday. So it was kind of just like whenever they needed me. But like I would probably work minimum 10 hours a week. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you both. I'm going to stop sharing. And while I do that, what other budgeting tips do any of you have to share?
I sort of touched on this earlier, but I think it's really relevant to be honest with yourself about what you will spend your money on. I know for me personally, I must have my coffee. Coffee is not something that I can't, it's just built into my budget. It goes in there, and that way I'm never surprised when I have less money than I think that I do. And I also am pretty aware of myself that if, if I see a pair of shoes I really want, I try to be the responsible person and think about how this is going to fit into my budget. And then sometimes I just purchase them anyway. And so I have to, it's, maybe not the most grown up thing to do, but I have to be aware of it. And that means I have to be paying attention to it. And so it's built into my budget. It's a part of what I think about when I think about my monthly bills as a fun budget or a random expenses budget, or I felt like I had a really crappy day and I want pizza delivered to my front door because I don't want to cook anything budget. Put it in there if you're going to use it, and then you won't end up surprised and short on things that you can't really be flexible about. Again, like rent or like your loans. I know, Katie, you have yours built into your budget. As part of AmeriCorps benefits, you do get deferment on your loans, so you don't have to pay them. If you can, I would recommend that you do.
Yeah, and I get a lot of questions about the deferment, and that's not something City Year can do because it's through AmeriCorps. So once you start serving, you'll get a My AmeriCorps account, and that's where your Siegel Education Award will also be once you're ready to use it at at the end of your service. And so to defer loans, you can go to the AmeriCorps.gov website, and they have really clear instructions there. So you can defer your loans. If you do accrue interest, once you finish your year, they can pay back any interest, but it's not something that City Year can really do because it's part of AmeriCorps. And so you'll get that account once you start serving.
I think like one budget should, like, I haven't done it personally, but like I know my some of my team members have. So like if you're in city or like if you use like AmeriCorps, like certain places will give you discounts on certain things. So you can definitely use that, because I know like some like insurance companies like and all that will give you like discounts. So if you, I don't know, I think there's like a list. I'm not sure where, but like you can definitely look at those lists and see like where you can get discounts. And sometimes you can just mention the name. Sometimes some will like give it to you like either way. Just ask them.
Yeah, a lot of places will do that for Denver public school employees too. So it's always worth asking. Good idea, Zakira.
Yeah, on top of that, something that really helped me at the beginning of the year was I like kind of just like sat down and made a list of like my expenses and was like, what things can I get rid of? Like, what can I make on my own instead of going and buying? Like that can make things cheap. Like for like coffee, like I just like I'm like I can't buy coffee anymore. Like I'm just gonna make my own coffee, and it's like those like easy things that like are really easy to adjust. I kind of just eliminated like instantly, and that really helped me throughout the year. And now I'm like in the habit of making a ton of things that I never knew I could make anyways. But yeah, those EBT deals are real. I call like everywhere I go before I go there. Like, hey, you guys got any deals? It's bad.
Yeah, if you we'll help you apply for food stamps at registration, and there's a lot of museums and different places that give you cheap tickets. So like Celeste mentioned, the Denver Museum of Nature and Science, I think the zoo, Botanic Gardens, you could get really cheap tickets using your SNAP benefits and your EBT card. So you can just go onto that website once you have those benefits, and they list off all the things that you can use those for as well. Let's I'm going to move us along since we started a little bit late, but if you have any others, definitely drop them in the chat. Some of our next questions are going to be for individuals, but for this one, this is for all 5 of our panelists. But what is your current living situation and how did you find housing if you relocated? And then any other tips about that you have.
I'm happy to go first since mine's the simplest and probably the least common of core members. I am from the Denver metro area, so I currently live with my parents. They're very kind and they're letting me do that. I would recommend it truly because lots of family members will let you live in their place for reduced rent or rent free, and that's nice on a stipend. But also be honest with yourself about whether or not that's something that you can do, because I have been living not in the area where my school is. So I commute to work every day, and that adds quite a bit to my day. That means that when we do things as a team, that adds quite a bit to my day. And it also means that it's also for some people kind of hard to move back into your parents' house as a young adult. And that's also something that was a consideration that I didn't really make before living it. I live for a lot cheaper, and that makes money work, but it also adds some other stressors. So that's my living situation. Pros and cons.
I'm same with Celeste. I also live at home with my mom. And I do definitely live far away from my school. So that it does take a lot of time. If you live kind of far away from everything, and because most of my teammates live closer to each other, every team activity is towards where they live. So I am not always the one that has to go to wherever it is. So yeah.
I could go next. So the first tip, I'm just going to do my tip first. So if you haven't found the place yet or started looking, I would definitely recommend doing that as soon as possible, because when I was trying to look for housing later than what I should have, I couldn't really find housing. So I had to live in an Airbnb for about a month before I actually found a place here. But right now I live with my wow, I heard the noise. I'm living with my girlfriend right now. So we just try to accommodate for us to how far her job would be and then how far my school would be. Try to work that out while finding the apartment. And I live in a pretty nice area too. So it's in Aurora right now. So it's pretty on the edge of it. So I'm really close to Denver still. So the school's not really too far away. So it's pretty nice. But yeah, definitely start looking as soon as possible, because you don't want to come out to Denver without a living environment. That's the worst feeling in the world.
I can go. Yeah, like I said earlier, I live with 3 of my college friends, and it was very last minute, high stress situation. I did the same thing as well, I didn't even know I was coming to Denver and doing city year until 2 weeks before. So I kind of just impulsively was okay, we're going to Denver. And so mine was very chaotic situation, but worked out really well. We live in a really nice house. My Lake Middle School is here's Sloan's Lake. Here's Lake Middle School. I'm right here. So I can walk around the lake to my school if I want. It's a 5-minute drive. So that worked out really, really nicely, but I'm definitely paying for the location. So I'm really close to the school. I'm really close to everyone, majority of my team that works at Lake. So if we want to hang out, it can be random, hey, what, you got 30 minutes to go on a walk? Sure, why not? Which is really, really nice. But on the other hand, I also am paying more rent than I would like to be paying. So definitely something to consider and think about, especially if you're wanting to live in a house, because utilities sneak up on you.
How did y'all find the house, Katie? Do you know what websites everybody used?
We were just looking on Zillow like the whole time. And just like see, like honestly got really, really lucky with the house just because they like this. We do live in reduced rent just because of the pandemic, which was really nice. But yeah, Zillow, I love Zillow. I like still just like play on Zillow just for fun when I'm bored.
For anybody watching the recording that can't see the chat, Alonso also used Zillow.
I live in a house with 3 other girls who are doing city year, and my house is also really near Aurora, and I got lucky with it being like a 5-minute drive to school. Um, and yeah, I know some people live with like non-city year people, some people live with city year people. I've really enjoyed my experience living with people also doing city year, but I know it just depends on the people, of course. And I also got really lucky, I feel like, with how I found this house because I had reached out to a core member that was serving last year and she like connected me with a landlord. So that was really helpful. I don't know what I would have done, but yeah, so I got kind of lucky, but it's definitely helpful just to like reach out to current core members of like on Slack and stuff, and like maybe they know of openings in their building or maybe they're moving. Um, but yeah.
Awesome. So I'm doing housing office hours later this week, so I'm gonna walk through the map and talk about neighborhoods. But um, any last minute neighborhood recommendations you want to throw out there before we move on?
Actually, I have a little tip. This couple of people on my team found really, really, really cheap housing on Craigslist, and in really good locations. So like kind of like was like a little weird, but like it ended up working out really well for all of them, and they pay really cheap rent and live in great, yeah, like great locations. So I would also check on Craigslist, just make sure you can hold them accountable and that what they're saying is accurate.
Yeah, you just want to be safe. So like research how to look for scams and stuff. But that's how I originally found housing when I moved back, because a lot of older people, like private landlords, tend to still use Craigslist and post on there, um, and haven't really like moved on to more like young platforms. So you can find things there. Just be safe and make sure it's you're like looking into it to make sure it's not a scam.
And Clyde, to answer your question, I stayed at an Airbnb like on the southern part of Denver. Um, it's like on the corner. It's like on Colorado Boulevard, so it wasn't too far. I wasn't also too far away, but I would much rather stay at a place that I could half consider mine rather than just the Airbnb. So, yeah, it was a fun month.
All right. So Celeste K was going to walk us through just like a day in the life example of like what it's like to be a core member at one of our schools. And then Katie might jump in too. Before we do that, just know that it's really hard to share a day in the life because everybody's looks different. Everybody's working with a different cohort and class of students and a different partner teacher. So even if you're, even if Alonzo and I served at the same school, we would still have different schedules. So that's why it's hard to give an exact schedule. So just know that you'll need to be flexible and work with your partner teacher. But I will pass it over to Celeste.
Thank you. Yeah, so my day starts I have to be at school at 8, which I know is kind of later than it is for other people. I'm like, yeah, very lucky that it's kind of later. Um, and yeah, so I get to school and then at like 8:30, we greet the kids coming in, and everything, of course, is just a little different oh my gosh, 7:15. Wow. Everything is a little different with COVID, of course, but we still greet them in the morning. And some, you can tell the kids are not morning people. They don't really say hi back, but it's still okay. And then in between like morning greeting and for anyone that missed it, I'm in both 7th and 8th grade social studies classes. So in the morning, my 8th grade social studies class begins at 9:35. So in between like morning greeting and class, I have a little bit of time for like planning and just getting various things done. Like um, our school has us do some attendance interventions or like reaching out to parents or reaching out to students that I will be doing like check-ins with, which I think Alonzo might talk a little bit more about that. Um, and tracking time that I've had with the kids in tutoring or small groups. Also, I'm the community outreach, like in that role at my school. So a lot of what that is we do in-kinding, basically contacting businesses in the area to donate like different things for initiatives throughout the year. For example, like a teacher appreciation event, we got Starbucks to donate some mugs for all the teachers and like some gift cards. Or for our after school like club, we got some places to donate gift cards or like different incentives for the kids. um, so yeah, so I'll kind of try to organize like who we're going to call for an event maybe we're having, and then kind of like divide all that up for the team and everything. So yeah, during my planning time, there's like I also could be helping my partner teacher prepare something for class. Could be many different things. And then during class, I am also doing different things now that we're in person, just kind of helping the students if any need extra support and like helping my partner teacher. And then since we've been in person, I have lunch duty with the 6th graders, like recess, which is kind of fun. And then after that, I also have like another planning, like getting stuff done time. Um, and then I have my 7th grade class in the afternoon, and then like an advisory class. And then after school, 2 times a week, we have our tutoring or office hours where students come for any help they need on assignments or anything. Some students come just to hang out. And yeah, that's still online. And then we also, once a week, used to be twice a week, but right now, once a week, we have our after school club. For us, it's called self-care club. So we just do various things, kind of revolving around self-care, but it's really just anything. Yeah, it's a really, really fun club. And yeah, so then after we finish that at 4:30, and then we just have like our final circle, like our ending for the day. And yeah, so right now I usually finish around like 4:45, I'd say, on an average day. But yeah, that's a little bit of a day in the life. I don't know if Katie, you want to add anything for the in-kinding or any like events you've had?
Yeah, I would love to. It's so interesting hearing your day. I loved hearing that because it is so like my day is so different than your day. Like it's really cool. Um, would you guys like me to go over my day or just talk about in-kinding and after school?
Yeah, I know we are gonna talk about like your block party that I think you had. If you can do like a really brief overview of your day since it is so different than Celeste's.
Yeah.
But then we had like two more things we're gonna talk about, and we have like 13 minutes. So we'll want to
Yeah.
keep it kind of brief because I
Yeah.
want to make sure that if people have questions, they get to ask them.
Of course. Yeah, I'll be super fast. Yeah, so I start at 7:15 and then I have 5 classes in a row in the morning. So I don't stop, and then which I love it, but just pretty much all I wanted to say was it's like very specific. I feel like to each of your partner teachers. My partner teacher is like a 52-year-old woman who is me. Like we're the same person, but she's 52 and I'm 23. But she gave me like a ton of freedom and like allows me to do a lot in the classroom, which I really, really enjoy. So like for my first, second, and third period are a lot of students that have IEPs, are on my behavioral lists, academic lists, like a lot of kids that need extra support and attention. So for my first 3 periods, I'm pretty much just focused solely on like those kids that need that extra support. And then my last 2 periods, I pretty much like run the whole classroom by myself, and she does like like she's walking around the classroom. So it's like a really cool dynamic and balance. So I have a ton of freedom, and it's like, I don't know, I just kind of wanted to say, depending on what you want and what your partner teacher can provide, it's really cool. Okay.
Don't expect to run the classroom.
Oh no, I asked to bring, I was like, I can do whatever, like I'm down for whatever. So it was like I went out of my way to do it because I wanted that experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't want anybody to be overwhelmed by that.
No.
Traditionally, you'll work with small groups and individuals
Yeah.
one-on-one.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to scare anyone. I was just saying. And then yeah, so we've had 2 in-person events this year that were so much fun. Typically we would have more, but we were in a pandemic. So the most recent one that we just did, we had a 6th grade block party, and we pretty much just in-kinded a bunch of games for the kids to play. Like we did apples to apples that were COVID safe. We would do like apples to apples and like rotate through everything. Tie-dyeing, and we played like fishbowl. It was really, really fun. And then we just last week had our City Year Heroes event. So we had like in-kind tons of pizza, like big things of pizza, waters, seltzers, like all these. It was so much fun. And we're able to like play volleyball, spike ball. We had tie-dye. Again, the kids really like tie-dyeing. And we got to meet all of our students' parents, like all their families got to come, their siblings got to come. And it was pretty much just a huge award ceremony for the kids that we all thought were just showing, like just doing amazing throughout the year. So it was a great ceremony, and it was awesome to bring the community together. I just talked a lot.
That's okay, thanks. Yeah, so Alonzo is going to go over focus lists. I do think that's pretty important. So if you still want to do that, I think we can talk about focus lists. And then the last thing we were going to talk about was like the transition from virtual to hybrid to in-person service. And we were going to hear about everybody's experience, but maybe after Alonzo covers focus lists, just one person can touch on that briefly. And if you do have questions, if you want to drop them in the chat now so we can kind of pre-plan what we want to answer, that would be super.
All right, so I'm gonna try to be as quick but concise as possible with this. So focus lists are a group of students, either behaviorally or academically, you want to have extra attention to. So for the behavior section of it, there's are between 5 or 6 students you will want to have for that, and then they'll be taking like HSAs, which is just an assessment test, and you'll be doing check-ins and check-outs with them every week. The check-ins are on Mondays or typically the beginning of the week, and they focus on how they did, how they're doing, how was their weekend, and also like trying to make a goal to achieve by the end of the week, which would be ending up with our checkout. So then you ask them how their week was during the checkout and ask them if they achieved their goal, and if not, why, etc. And just make sure you just build a bond with them and know that you're always there for them. For the academic focus list. It's just basically someone like a small group that you would try to work with almost every day. That could be as small as 6 people. It could be as big as 10 people or 12 people. It's just whatever you're comfortable with working with, and also try to get them the most attention they need with their studies. So that's kind of a big a rundown on how those are. If I miss anything, someone could definitely chip in. I try to be concise but quick at the same time.
And we train you on that during Basic Training Academy, so you know how to track all of your students and their growth in either behavior, attendance, or their academics. But it was definitely something that we wanted to touch on so that you're not surprised when you start hearing about focus lists. Yeah, did anybody want to jump in with anything else, or if one of you is comfortable talking about what it was like going from virtual to in person?
I can start. It don't matter. So virtual, it was kind of draining because I'm just sitting in this spot for almost 9 hours every single day. Um, and I also, well, more than that, because I also like the game and stuff. So it's kind of dragging and boring. Once I went to the hybrid schedule, we never went to strictly in person. But once we went to the hybrid schedule, allowed me to go to the school, see some of the kids, and interact with them in person. Um, it was great doing that. Um, but it's not nearly as long because we're in the morning, for me at least, because every school is different. In the morning we'll do virtual from 7:45 to 11:45, and then we have that hour and 15 to commute to the school, and from 1:05 to 3:10 we'll have virtual, which is 2 hours and 10 minutes or 2 hours and 5 minutes. Yeah, 2 hours and 5 minutes doesn't is not really enough time in person with the students because some of them are also just strictly online. So it's kind of hard to help the students online and help the students in person at the same time. But it's a very enjoyable experience. And I know at George Washington, we're doing strictly in person next year. So I'm super excited for that.
Yeah, and I think I've sent this out, but you should anticipate serving in person next year. It's possible that individual classrooms and schools might have some students that elect to come virtually, but you will be in person with the majority of your students. So
I think something from the transition from virtual to in person that just it makes sense, but I remember at the beginning of the year we were all, I feel like, really worried about building relationships with the kids online and just connecting with them, since a lot of them, I mean, like, I'm with middle schoolers and they're not the best at checking their email. Like, I don't know. um, that's a funny thing to ask middle schoolers to do anyways. And but I was still able to build relationships and I felt really like happy about that. But then when we finally went in person, it was just like crazy how much quicker like I became close with them. So I'm really excited that you all will probably most likely be in person with your students, because yeah, the relationships and the connections just get, I feel like, so much closer. And that was something that I don't know, yeah, it didn't surprise me, but kind of did how quickly just being able to see them on a daily basis and get to talk to them face to face helps. So, yeah, I'm excited for all of you to do that.
I think like mine, like one thing that was really different was learning that like they all like have different learning styles from virtual to in person. Because some of the students like virtually they did like nothing all day, like they like how they turned on their camera, they didn't participate like nothing. But like once in person, you're like, wow, this person is so smart. This person is like outgoing. This person likes to talk about her like puppies and all that. So to me, it was like really shocking to kind of see like how different they are virtually compared to like in person.
And then I dropped the one question that was emailed to me in the chat if one of you or multiple wants to take a stab at that one too. But I'll read it for anybody watching. So whether or not you work a second job, do you feel like you're still able to make time for your own health and self-care and fun activities? And how do you do that?
So I don't work a second job, but truly my best advice is to have a work life and then have a not work life. It's really easy to get really invested, as you should, in this job and in our students and in the work that we do. And I don't think that you should hold back from that, because you're only going to better serve your students when you care and they can see that you care. Especially the older that you get, the more that they know when you're faking it, and the more that they can totally see when it's real. Even little kids totally understand when you're just phoning it in and when you really genuinely care about them. So caring is not a bad thing. It can get really easy to take it home with you, though. And that's only going to hurt you, truly. I mean, whether it's, I have times that I check my work email, and then I have times that I do not check my work email. I literally I don't get my work email sent to my phone. I don't get, we use Slack for like work messages, and I do not have the Slack app on my phone. It's on my laptop, and I check it every morning before I get on the road to school, and then I'm checking it throughout the day during the school day, and I check it at the end of my work day, and then I'm done with it. And that is really helpful for me. I know that living with core members is pretty common. And when you live with the same people, maybe even who you work with or who are on the same school team as you, it's kind of impossible, it might seem, to find other things to talk about. But I would really encourage it, because the more that you're able to care for yourself and find ways to fulfill yourself, whether it's spending time outside, whether it's taking advantage of all of the amazing opportunities that Denver has as a city, and we're so close to so much amazing recreational space. Very, very easy to access. Whatever that is that it looks like for you to not be involved in work when you're not at work, I would really recommend, so that you can give yourself 110% when you go back to work on Monday. But work-life balance, really important.
To add on to that, the weekends are your best friends. Those 2 days off might seem like a week off after work, after working those 5 days. So definitely make that time to yourself and do whatever you find enjoyable. Also for me, I thought about picking up new habits during this year, because I never really thought about self-care even in college, which is kind of sad. I didn't really have any self-care things, but I started using self-care activities for me to do. Like I started listening more podcasts more, and I started just watching even more TV shows, because I wasn't really watching TV like that in college. So try to find new things to do, and just don't think about work during the weekend, because that time is for you, and you can worry about all that stuff on Monday.
Yeah, I feel like, so I live with all citier people, and one of my housemates and I are at the same school, and we're honestly like best friends. So it's like it's good, but I think it's just like still important for me to make like intentional like alone time for myself. Like I'm just someone who really needs that. Um, and even if it's just like for me, I just honestly need to just go for like a walk if I can. Like 30 minutes really just like helps a lot. So I just think like be intentional about your, like, I don't know, self-care doesn't have to be like a huge thing. For me, yeah, like a 30-minute walk really helps. um, yeah, I don't know. So just be intentional about your, I don't know, since like maybe you don't have a lot of time, especially if you're working 2 jobs. But I feel like if you're intentional about it, it can still be effective.
I'll just make this really quickly. But yeah, that was probably one of the things that I struggled with the most, working 2 jobs, was finding time to like just like calm my brain. Especially because I was like literally running in my house, changing, and then running out the door to my other job. Yeah, but so that was like definitely the first like month of working that second job was like really, really tough for self-care and fun activities. I didn't really do much besides like come home and sleep just to like refresh my brain. But then after that, I definitely started like setting in like doing everything intentionally. I woke up and I would go for a walk in the morning every morning just to like wake my brain up and like clear my brain before I started the day. Definitely just like changing my mindset and schedule. Yeah, 6 a.m. Just like changing it and like doing what my body needed and listening to my body. Like that's something I've taken from this year more than like anything, is just listening to my body and my mind. And then once I was able to figure that out, I made so much time to like have fun, like do fun activities, self-care. Also, yes, the weekends are, I've never appreciated the weekends more than I than this year. It's like Fridays are the blessing, but yeah. And like surrounding yourself with people that like bring you, like lift you up instead of down. Like I relied on my team so much this year, and it's just really important to have those connections with people that don't drain you outside of work.
And Zakira put in the chat to use your days off because you do have 12 days throughout the year. So don't, I mean, you're totally correct, Zakira. You don't regret doing that. Like those are your days. So use them and plan around it too.
Yeah, I feel like oh, sorry, Alonzo, do you want to say? I don't know, like at the beginning of the year, I was like, what if I get really sick? I don't know, like I kept making like excuses like that and not using them. And then at the end, I was just like, I feel guilty missing school, like I want to be there. So, and yeah, I didn't use all my days. So I definitely regret not taking more time off in the beginning of the year, or just like going half and half with like the beginning and the end of the year. Um, yeah, so definitely try to do that. It's really hard, I feel like, to do that, but just keep that in the back of your head.
Yeah, even though I might still do the same thing as I did this year, but I don't want to. But I used all of my days off between, well, like 7 out of my 12 days off between April 20th and uh, May 20th. So a whole month, I used 7 days worth of days off, and a lot of those were half days because I didn't want to take a full day off because I didn't want to be completely away from the students. So I had a lot of separate days where I'm just like 2 or 3 days a week I'm not in the city or uniform, which isn't really ideal, especially at the end of the year, because you want to have build like that ending relationship with the student. So definitely try to use them more sporadically throughout the year.
For those of you that did join us, did you have any questions you wanted to ask? I can stay on. I don't know if our panelists all can. So if you do have questions, like now's the time.
Still kind of on the PTO vein, I knew that I was going to be traveling a lot in April and May for my PTO. And so I planned ahead and I thought about, well, I know I'm going to need this weekend, and this weekend, and I'd like them to be 3-day weekends so that I have time to travel. And so I was thinking ahead. I had a team member that used a lot of his PTO at the beginning and then ended up needing some PTO at the end and didn't have any. So, like definitely use it. You can't take it with you at the end of your service year, but if you know for sure, oh, I'm going to need a day around a winter holiday to travel, or my sister's getting married in November and I need a day to travel for, or I'd like a day to travel for that. That's what they're for. You can use them for mental health days. You can use them for grad school interviews. You can use them for really anything, depending on what your manager, your impact manager, your IM says. That depends on how far out in advance you can ask for PTO. Usually 2 weeks is polite to give people a heads up. But I've had I took last Thursday off. I've had that scheduled out since September. I knew I needed the day, so it's been in there the whole time.
Okay, last thing I'm going to say about PTO, but half days were really, really what I used. Sometimes you just wake up, you're at the school and you're like, I can't be mentally the best for them. So you listen to your body and I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a half day. I'm there until lunch. I go home, take a nap, and then I'm ready to keep going the next day. But half days really helped me this year. Came 10.
PTO is paid time off. I don't know if people know that. There's a lot of acronyms in City Year that I am realizing that we're all using, that you just kind of, PTO is standard. That happens in most jobs.
PTO
but
is not a City Year one. But
PTO isn't a City Year one. But yes, you get 12, right, Brenna? Is that the same next year? Yeah, but I know that I was just thinking about using all of these acronyms. I just remember, I'm in love. Who's that?
Hi. Oh, sorry. He wants to go.
That's a very good dog. Congratulations, you win. I just remember that at the beginning of City Year, there were a bunch of acronyms and a bunch of words and a bunch of things that meant absolutely nothing to me. And now I hear myself using them very casually. But it was a very steep learning curve for a really long time. So I empathize if people have said things that mean little to nothing to you. And before this year, I definitely didn't know what PTO was, even though that's not a City Year acronym.
Yeah, like what Brenda said, it would be 24 half days to mix it, so you can mix and match. So I did for those last 7 days, I did 3 full days and then 8 half days, I believe. I'm not entirely sure what I did, but I did something in that combination to get the 7 full days. And Destiny, I just realized when you said Natalie in the chat, I was like, oh wait, I know Destiny now. I was like, why she said Natalie? Does she know Natalie?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I was gonna say hi, but I don't know. This is a panel, so I'll let you guys keep talking.
That's all good. I just had that thought in my head. I was like, oh, I know Destiny.
Yeah, Natalie's another core member that's coming back next year, like Alonso is. So we have 12 people, I think, coming back because we want a service leader at each school to come back, and some people choose to come back as second years and do another year with kids.
Brenna, do you know who the service leader for Lincoln is next year? Am I allowed to know?
No, we haven't
Okay.
made placements yet.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of the times people come back to their same school, but not always. They'll work with the service leaders to see who's
I'm just
living
nosy.
where. No, yeah, I don't know yet.
And I know that the current service leader can't come back, even though she's amazing at her job. Hopefully she's on to bigger and better things.
I just know if I don't get George Washington, I might cry.
We could really use you at Lincoln. I know you're very emotionally attached to Gita, but Lincoln's a good place to be. Plus, I can come bother you all the time, and that's mostly this is self-serving. I just want to bug you.
Yeah, also, but George Washington's basketball team beat y'all, so I can't. I'm sorry. I did good basketball
I'm not
teams.
involved in Lincoln athletics, and I will not vouch for them. They try really hard. It's been a growing year for the past 5-6 seasons. We don't need to talk about it.
Well, I'm gonna stop the recording if we don't have any more questions, but if you think of any, jump in. Now's your chance. But thanks for everybody that came today, including our panelists.